Hey, everybody. Welcome to Talking Trains. I'm John, and this is my co host, Michelle. Wait a minute. This isn't Michelle. This is Jennifer. Who's Jennifer? Uh oh. You're muted. Am I muted? Oh, man. So, Jennifer, I don't know if you can hear me. It was working fine when we were trying this earlier. Can you give me a yes, you can hear me if you can hear me? Because I can't hear you at all, and I don't know why. Okay. Well, this is fun. How about now? Still can't hear me. Uh, this is very strange. Can anybody on the stream hear me? Please type in chat. I'm going to see what's. This is weird. Everything's connected and it was working just fine a minute ago. Okay. One moment, please. How about now? Oh, God. Oh, what is. Oh, well, other people can hear me. Okay. So, other people can hear me. It's just you. Yeah, Jennifer's muted. Here, let me try removing her from the stream and I'll add her back. How about now, Jen? This is very strange. Well, I'm going to try to. Everybody can hear me. Okay, that's good. Thank you. I'm glad that everybody else can hear me. I'm not sure what's going on with Jennifer. I'm going to try to get her to sign out and sign back in. I don't know how I can communicate that to her, so I'm just going to put a little note on a piece of paper here that says, try signing out and sign back in. But I want to mention, since I'm having to deal with this technical difficulty, I don't want everybody else to be completely bored. So give me a second. Then sign back in. Oh, now, wait a minute. Try now. Yeah. Yeah. So she's going to try signing out and signing back in. Oh, boy. Now you know she signed out because it's just me big on the screen. Boy, that's scary. Anyway, this is the Talking Trains show. And as you know who I am, I've been doing this for years now, a couple of years, 2.5 years. And my special guest co-host that is having trouble with her audio is Jennifer Howell. And Jennifer is someone that I know because of Michelle. Let me try to bring her back on.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you now. That was really strange. I don't know what happened. I was just starting to talk about how great you are.
Uh-huh. I'll have to watch the replay and see what really happened.
Yeah.
Right, did something on purpose, huh? To sabotage.
Right. You signed off. I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with her? She doesn't even know how to use her phone.
Right.
Yeah. So I was just telling people who you are and how I know you. So I know Jennifer because she's one of Michelle's friends over in the Colorado Model Railroad Museum and a steam sister, which you can explain. Yeah, you can explain what that is maybe during the photos that we're going to show.
Okay.
But as people know, Michelle told us last time that she wasn't going to be able to be on this month or next month. To be honest, I'm not even sure if she'll be able to be on the following month because after she made these announcements, she went public with something else that you can find if you're looking at Facebook. And so I've scrambled around to find guest co-hosts to fill in for Michelle. And Jennifer was the first person I thought of and the first person I asked because most people don't know this, but many times during the show when I am with Michelle on the program, Jennifer's sitting right there just off camera next to Michelle. So she's almost already is a co-host.
I just sit there and try to not laugh really loud. Sometimes Dave Hammer will like see the side of my arm or my hair and he'll be like, "Hi, Jennifer."
Yeah. So some people do know. So everybody, this is Jennifer, and Jennifer is also a trained fanatic. And I don't want to say too much because I want to leave some stuff for you to talk about, Jen. But people who are really TSG multimedia junkies and watched all 16 hours or whatever it was of the Rocky Mountain Train Show,
Was it 16 hours? Dang.
Or 15, whatever it was. They saw you because I came over and talked to you about your pictures at the Rocky Mountain Train Show. And in addition to that, now you've been on Chasing Trains. I don't know how many of those episodes have come out, but
well, maybe.
Yeah, I guess we'll figure it out later. But so that's who Jennifer is. And thank you so much for agreeing to come on the program. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm excited. Now I can actually laugh and not have to hide it and be all quiet in the background.
Yeah. Feel free to laugh as much as you like.
So there are times I've legit already been just like across from Michelle. She has a little painting station in her basement. I'd be sitting there painting stuff and just trying to be quiet as I'm like rinsing out brushes and opening stuff and like, shoot, someone just made a mess. I'm like, okay, she's not looking. I don't think she heard that.
Yeah. I'm reading some of the comments in the comment section on the side of the screen there. And people are saying about how, it goes back a couple of minutes and it was when you were having issues with your audio. And I'm really glad that I didn't start into a tirade of cussing because I thought, right, because I would have thought that I was muted too. Like, what? Beep, beep. We try to keep it a family friendly channel. So.
That's a good thing. I don't know. Does YouTube care if you're cussing? I don't know.
Sometimes advertisers do.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big deal.
Sure. So in order to sort of, that's another issue that we've been having intermittently is that Jen's picture disappears.
Yeah, like it all just cut out on my screen too. So I was like, uh-oh.
Oh, so you did see that this time. Okay. That is so strange. We'll have to figure that out again sometime too.
Last time I was freezing on the test one, and now this one I'm cutting out.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? So Jeff Pierce says, I never cuss. Yeah, right. Jeff Pierce. Yeah. Jeff Pierce is the current president of the Rio Grande Modeling and Historical Society, and I had a great chance to hang out with him in Utah when I was there. I think it was last month or early this month. I don't even remember when I went. I think it was early.
Not long ago.
Yeah, I think it was early this month. And so Jeff gets an appearance on an upcoming episode of Chasing Trains. And I think I put him on this, the most recent podcast as well. So anyway, I digress as I always do. We have some photos to share that will give people a better idea about you, Jennifer. So why don't I bring that up? Yeah, Jeff corrected me. It was early June. I couldn't remember if it was early June or early July. So it was early June. Okay. Cool. Anyway, so why don't we bring up that presentation? And
right. Perfect.
Of course, I need to remember how to do this. Is that working?
I can see that. Perfect.
Yeah. So this is the thing that I suspect most people would be most interested in because you do a lot of really great train photography. And something else that you do that I really like is the nature photography. So for everybody watching, I asked Jen to include some nature photographs as well. And Jen, if you could just let me know when to advance the slides, I will do so on my end.
Okay, so a little background. I've liked taking pictures since I was a kid. I used to have like the little old school, was it 110 film with the little flashes that like burn out once you use this little Minnie Mouse camera. Mm-hmm. That was like the cool thing. pretty cheesy looking back. But in high school is when I started to learn how to do an all manual camera in black and white. We loaded film, developed our film, made our own prints and all that stuff. So that's when I really got into it. So I have some horrible shots of 844 and Greeley back in high school. But I tried really hard, and I don't know where the good ones went, so I found horrible ones, but those are not in this presentation. So my younger brother, who's 11 years younger than me, loved diesels. So we'd run up and down Highway 85 in Weld County near Greeley, go north of Greeley towards Wyoming, chasing trains. And then steam engines appeared from Cheyenne coming down towards Denver or wherever they happened to be. And I really liked those, so that's what got me wanting to go see the steam engines. And then I've always just loved wildlife and nature and wildlife. They're out and about while also chasing trains and looking for trains. So it's a really good combination to have. So that's just kind of how I got into both. So you go ahead and advance it, John.
Sure.
So this picture is from not too far from DIA, out in that area of the farms surrounding DIA, which are quickly getting built up to neighborhoods. There's still quite a few sunflower fields, so people go nuts for sunflowers out there. It's pretty crazy. So I only went a couple of years, and then I got tired of the crowds being crazy and trespassing, damaging the sunflowers and stuff. So I just threw one of those in just because it was a nice, happy memory of that day. And it wasn't too far of a drive from where I was living in eastern Colorado. So it's just nice to go take pictures of things close to home.
I'll advance it in a second, but something we should mention is, someone mentioned it here. Dave Hammer's correctly mentioning what DIA is, because you said that, and I'm thinking to myself, people are probably wondering what DIA is. And is it now Denver International Airport, though? That's what it was before when it was DIA, isn't it? Oh, you just cut out again. Is it the same as where it is now, or is this the area where it used to be?
Before it used to be Stapleton down in Denver, which is all built up into neighborhoods and run up to Rocky Mountain Arsenal. Which is now a National Wildlife Refuge, and some of my photos are from there. DIA is Denver International Airport, where it now stands. And one of the reasons why they moved out there is to have room to grow and not have it surrounded by houses, but yet houses are getting built all around it. It's kind of weird. There's some really cool wildlife opportunities out there, and they have a light rail train that goes up there, so that's kind of cool.
Sure. Something I've noticed also when I'm out foaming or, rail fanning, is we do go to sort of remote places, and they're quite often are really good opportunities for pictures like this.
So this is from that place I just talked about, Rocky Mountain Arsenal. Sometimes this little drainage ditch is dry as a bone. Other times it's full of green, lush grasses and this great blue heron, muskrats, wood ducks, mallard ducks, all kinds of critters. So I just shot this from my car. You basically just drive around this 11-mile loop, or you could hike their trails. They've added a ton of trails out there. And either way, you could get pretty good wildlife shots. And then it's not too far from Chasing Trains down in Denver, where John and Michelle have been on some of his videos. Nice little tie in there, huh?
Oh, yeah. We tend to do that from time to time.
You go ahead and change this one.
Okay. Oh.
So this is another shot from Rocky Mountain Arsenal National Wildlife Refuge. They have, I want to say it was in don't quote me, like 2007 or so, they got some bison from the Yellowstone area brought down, and they've expanded the pasture quite a bit. It goes all the way to DIA now. And I think they're at probably around 200. I'm not 100% sure on the numbers. They kind of go up and down because they do give out some of their bison to other areas for genetic diversity. This again is shot from my car. I sat here for over an hour and watched these two just fight, and many other cars were doing the same, and they were still fighting when I left. So it was just a pretty cool little sequence to sit there and watch for quite a while.
They may still be fighting now.
You never know.
Yeah.
The guys, they gotta fight when they want their women, I guess.
Yeah, people do that too sometimes.
That's true. And
Now, what about these guys?
so these are the pronghorn antelope. These are in southern Arapahoe County, eastern Arapahoe County, almost to Elbert County, out in the rural part of eastern Colorado. Just on my way home, I used to drive with my cameras in my car. You know, I have like the 600 millimeter lens and just always had it on hand. I'm just driving down the road, stopped. If you leave the car running, they typically will sit there and pose, but if you turn it off, it freaks them out and they run off. But then if it's running, sometimes you risk your photos getting a little blurry. So it's a little hard to know what should you do. But these guys are pretty good models that day, and I got a ton of pictures of them.
Yeah, I like how you caught them looking over. Look at the eyelashes.
They're cool. And when they're freaked out, the little hairs on their butts stand straight up and they poof out. So that's kind of cool.
Oh,
so
that happens.
Nice and smooth.
Yeah, that happens to me too. Hey, for people, I want to mention for people watching, the trains will be here soon.
Yes, there's not too many wildlife, I promise.
Do you know what this is, though? For me, this is a moment of self-indulgence. Now, I know we're showing your pictures, Jen, but I love this stuff. So,
right on.
Yeah, people don't know this. I have a whole second channel that's a very large majority of the videos on TSG channel 2 are either wildlife or naturescapes. So I really dig this. So now, is this a badger?
You told me about it, and it's a cool channel. I had no idea you had this channel.
Yeah,
but that is a badger. That was a couple of years back. I was taking care of my neighbor's horses while they're out of town down in Texas, and I'm sitting there just staring out of their barn. I'm like, what the heck is running out there? My camera was in my car, so I ran out and got it, and I go zooming in. I'm like, it's a flipping badger on their property. And it was like right on the fence line. So I could sit there and just take pictures of it from my car. I would hang out at night until it starts, sun's almost about to set, and it would come out.
Turned out good. I like the markings on them.
I love animal pictures where their mouths are either open or their tongue's out because I'm just weird. So I had to get a tongue picture in there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, so now
this
nice landscape.
Was last fall. I was with Ted Schulte, Michelle Kempema, John Stravino, and myself. We were running around the guys' Jeeps, chasing Cumbres and Toltec. We took some weird four-wheeling kind of weird way up to Osier. And this was just one of the stops we did before lunch, before the train got up to Osier. And we just kind of were walking around taking photos and just taking it in. The Chama, New Mexico, Antonito area is just stunning in the fall. Like, this is your background of what you see when you're either on the train or chasing the train. Yep. It's just like beautiful colors. If you hit it this was just about to peak.
Yeah. And this is one of those examples of you're out chasing trains and you happen to get an amazing landscape. How cool is that?
Yeah. What you don't know is over to the side is Michelle, John, and Ted over goofing around.
You took a picture of the good stuff.
I did, huh?
Especially if John and Ted were there.
Gosh, right? So the first time I was there, John and Ted looked like twins. They both had a dark hat, a gray Carhartt hoodie, their jeans, and like hiking boots. And like, well, look at you two just being twins. But John had his truck, not his Jeep. So that was a bummer. He should have had his Jeep for that trip.
Yeah, well, I mean, besides Ted is about 8 feet tall, so that would be another way to tell them apart.
Well, yeah, he kind of towers over everyone.
Yeah. All right. Oh, now what's this? Oh, look, it's a train.
The trains are here. That nice landscape. John didn't even know that was like taken down near Chama. So that was really good planning on your part. This was this past June when Big Boy went on a test run. So they had the PTC guys on board because they have the new MU in there testing it out. So I was listening to my scanner, waiting for a while for them to finally come out. So finally they came out. Right next to me, it just happens to be my buddy, Nick Valdez, who we're all going to talk to here in a bit. So he's filming next to me and some other people. His dad's there. Way behind us is where's Max today and his owner, Rattlesnake Jake. So that was cool. So it was just a nice little cool spot to see some friends and do some filming.
Yeah, I really like what you did with the water. It's a shame that the water didn't cooperate and be really still to give you that mirror effect.
Or even like all the way through, it was like it dried up a little. Since since Union Pacific tore down some stuff over in the Spear area, like the old Hull House, the depot thing, or I forget what exactly it was, and the water tower. I wanted to make sure I got some pictures of this old signal bridge. Is that the right word, signal bridge for that?
It is. That's a signal bridge. Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm using the right terms because I'm not the best always at that stuff. So feel free to correct.
Oh, well, yeah. Don't ask me to correct you because I get stuff wrong half the time because I can't remember anything. But that is a signal bridge or a signal bridge tower or something like that. So
my original shot was different, but these people got in the way. I was like, seriously, I've been standing here forever, and these people, this older couple, they just are there in front of everybody's photos and videos. So I had to change up how I wanted to do it a little. So that's how I corrected the situation.
Do you know what I've come to decide after years of doing this, and especially if you're trying to go out and get something like the 4014, right? Is that people are going to be there. So for me, anyway, wait for you to come back. For me, anyway, it's really my attitude is more about documenting what's happening rather than trying to get the perfect shot because there's always going to be some numbskull getting in your shot no matter what. So.
And as long as they're not like, I guess, mooning or something, it should be an okay picture.
Yeah, well, I mean, that might be the one that goes viral, though. You never know.
Oh, that would be kind of an interesting one, right?
Could be.
This photo here goes back to 2012, the Cheyenne Frontier days. My younger brother, the one I referred to earlier, loves steam, and he'd been wanting to ride this train since he was a little kid. So 2012, he would have been 22. So he and my uncle that he is named after both got tickets to go on it. And they came down from Greeley. I came in from eastern Colorado. I got there before they did just to hang out and check out the area, walk around, figure out where I'm going to do my shots. And this is the only time I have really cool shots of 844s from this trip. And yes, that is the Mars light, the famous Mars light. Everybody has to ask Ed Dickens about where's the Mars light? Where's the Mars light? So he and I have a little inside joke with that one.
Oh, and that's a really good shot. And to think that this was 11 years ago or 12 years ago already. I mean, you've been taking pictures for a long time.
And that was with my really old crummy Nikon D40X.
Doesn't look like an old crappy picture. I mean, that's really cool.
And in the background, you can see that tower with the red on it. That's the amusement park Elitch's. For a while, it's called Six Flags, but for the most part, it's been called Elitch's.
Yeah.
That whole area has changed since this photo was taken. Everything's like built up around in the background now.
Yeah. And where did you say it was? I forgot already.
Down in Denver. It wasn't too far from... I don't think Coors was too far. Coors was kind of like to the north of it, and this is looking south.
Right.
Kind of southwest.
Well, it's a cool shot.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, that's a cool shot too. You do the black and white also?
I did. So big boy in the fall. I wish I've told Ed this before. I'm like, if you have any control, please run in the fall where the temps are cooler and we get the cool puffs of steam. So remember that 2-month tour they did where they went, where did they go? I think went west and like circled around. So they're coming back through eastern Colorado. Over the weekend, they had stayed in Lyman, Colorado, right before Thanksgiving of 2019. And this is that Monday. It was freezing cold by the time I took this. This was probably like 11-ish in the morning in Watkins, Colorado. I had taken photos of it down and out further east in Deer Trail around 7:38. No, it's probably 8 something. It was a lot warmer then, but this night a snowstorm hit. And the next day there was just snow pics all over the Facebook groups of it going through Colorado in the snow. It was a pretty cool picture. So they had changed the schedule and upped because they were supposed to have a day in Denver, like a layover. Well, they canceled that and went ahead to Cheyenne a day earlier. And Michelle had an event on Facebook for the Colorado Model Railroad Museum, and a bunch of people were coming. Like, people are coming from other countries and missed it because it got bumped up a day. So, but they got to see it in the snow and all its glory. Eric Lindgren has some really cool photos. I know of it. I think around Colorado area, I want to say. So I got it before the snow, but the steam was just so cool, poofing and floofing all over. I just loved it.
Yeah, I like the composition of this too. The only thing I have to say, but this is okay because it's photographs, is I prefer the landscape view, but this is a really nice frame. And I like how I'm assuming you put that in with Photoshop, the little.
I did Lightroom.
Yeah, it looks like.
I did landscape shots, but I didn't make them quite like this. But I did have some landscape ones. And right after this, I was starting to go over a little bridge that I was watching for.
Yeah, even if this had been a landscape, whoops, I'm waiting for you to come back. Even if this had been a landscape, it could have been cropped down just like this, and it's a great shot. So
yeah, I was trying to keep the news truck and some stuff out of there and the cop car. The cops are out there filming and watching too. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, cool. Oh, now I've seen some of these places. This is the one on the left is Cumbres and Toltec, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Is the other one Durango and Silverton?
Correct.
Oh, see, I have seen these. Cool.
So the Cumbres and Toltec, I wanted one where I had Rio Grande 20 right there in that spot, the one from the museum in Golden, Colorado Railroad Museum. But I couldn't find that one quick enough, so I just threw this one in. But I like that this one had some like darker gray in the steam. And this one I'm trying to shoot around people because this is a very popular shot. It leaves the yard, kind of goes through a little ways where you could easily see it, and then the road is up higher and it's down low in all the trees. You could see the steam, but you can't see the train until it starts to pop out right here. And then it goes over the Lobato Bridge shortly after this. I guess, yes, it starts to kind of curve up or to the bridge. So that's just another real easy spot to get some cool photos and also see critters. I've seen turkeys and all kinds of stuff out there too. Yeah.
The one thing that I think really works for this portrait orientation of pictures is steam engines, because they always have that column of smoke and steam. So that works out really well. Nice shots. Yeah.
I just love the steam and the cooler air. I just love it. I really want Big Boy 844 in some good cold weather again.
That would be cool. The only time I've ever seen 844, well, I saw 844 run when they made that trip out to Ogden and they double-headed 844 and 4014. But back in, I think it was 2009, the UP ran an excursion out here with 844 out to California. And I went to a place called Stockton, and I actually have a video of all the trains that came through that day. It's a DVD called A Day at El Pinal, ELPINAL. And El Pinal is a control point where the old Western Pacific used to cross the Southern Pacific in Stockton. And it isn't anymore. Now that UP owns all of it, it's just a diverging route that one goes up the Valley Sub and the other one goes on to Sacramento. And the first shot, if I remember right, on that video is of 844 blasting out of Stockton. So.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah. And I had never to that point ever seen large, or what they call big steam, out on a main line before. I'd only seen things like shays or small rod engines on narrow gauge, like Georgetown Loop or something. That's all I had seen to that.
They're both awesome and beautiful, but it's different when it's big and going fast.
Oh, and they were picking up steam, as they say, coming out of Stockton. Yeah. Oh, now here's something cool. We don't see this every day.
This is the rotary snowplow back in March when it was on its way to Rollins. If you're familiar with the Cheyenne area, kind of near milepost 511 area, there's the bridge Burlington Northern goes over the C&S Bridge. So Derek Brown and I, my buddy, we kind of went up. He's up higher on the bridge than I am, so I'm down a little lower, and we're sitting there waiting for it to come. So he got good pictures of it coming towards the bridge. I got some good ones going across as it went under and away. And then that's the signal bridge that I have the picture of Big Boy under.
Oh, cool. Okay.
totally different vantage point.
Yeah.
So it was just fun to kind of chase that for a while. And then he and I, we kept chasing. And then we found out snowdrifts out in western Wyoming are not that great. And we got stuck in a big old truck.
Oh, well.
He calls it the F.
Oh.
So his truck is the F unit. He and his buddy Bruce Brackley, they go running around in.
Yeah. Actually, for people who've watched for a long time, Michelle and I had Derek on one time.
Yep.
A year and a half, or it was a while ago. And he did a great slideshow of a lot of the pictures that he's taken. So
and he's a cool photographer too.
Yeah.
He's been rocking the Amtrak photos lately.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he's been doing a lot of those. Hey, now what's this?
Queen pin, all hail the queen.
Well, that was a nice thing to have a little tribute to Michelle on here, since she couldn't be with us today.
So Michelle is here with us one way or another, darn it.
She's
Whether
always
she wants to or not, she's here.
Yep, she's always with us one way or the other.
She's in our heart too. So she doesn't know we did this, so someone's either going to tell her or she's going to see this on her own. So we'll find out how she sees it. It'll be great.
Guess what?
She's watching. I can't see comments. Unless John posts them up. That's hilarious. Well, Michelle, you busted us, I guess. Love you.
I was hoping she'd find it later. I didn't want to get busted on the spot.
Yeah, I didn't think she'd be watching tonight. Oh, that's funny. And the picture of the donut even makes it better. Actually, last night talked about she wants a donut. So that's really perfect.
I took the picture. Look at this. I took the picture of her with that donut in Santa Cruz last year. It was almost exactly a year ago.
Oh, how cool is that? That thing just looks giant.
It is. These donuts are in Santa Cruz at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, and they're about this big.
Oh,
and they call them Texas-sized donuts or something like that.
Aww.
And yeah, so I have another picture of her looking through the hole, so you can really tell how big this donut is. I don't think you can really tell on that picture so much, but it is as big as someone's head. Yep.
So Shelby, I totally stole 2 pictures of you from your Facebook, and John put his donut picture in their review. So we're equally to blame on that.
Yep.
That's awesome. All hail the queen.
Right. Anyway, let me make this go away. Awesome. We had to have some fun, right? So
that's right.
So speaking of Queen Pin and all that stuff, we have a guest today I've actually wanted to get on here ever since I met him a bit earlier this year. And you may recall, I know you recall because you were there, Jen, but for the viewers, you may recall a few months ago, I had a video come out that was about the Royal Gorge Route depending where you're from, Railroad. And on this video, we were treated to just a great explanation of what the Royal Gorge Route is, what they do, and how they run, as well as a bunch of the equipment in their yard there in Canyon City. And the person that did that was Nick Valdez. So I'm going to bring him on, and he has some stuff to share. Here he is. Hi, Nick.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, we can hear you.
All right, good.
That's one hurdle jumped already.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Yeah, so we're thinking about hearing more about you and what you do, because one of the things that I like to focus on this channel, as the viewers know and as you know, is people who are younger that work on the railroads or into steam or whatever. And I realize you're not, oh, there goes Jen again. You're not that young. I mean, you're old enough to shave. So
there we go. That's a plus. Yep.
Yeah. But I wanted to have you on and have you maybe explain or tell your story so that
Yeah, absolutely.
people, maybe younger viewers, can get some ideas of, maybe some of the things that they can do to get into working on a railroad or working at a heritage railroad or in the steam or whatever. I think you probably have some insight about that would be helpful to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I figure best way to explain my story is to just show my story through what pictures I've been able to compile over the past, it's probably been about 8 or 9 years that I've been involved with trains in some respect or another, volunteer, working for a railroad, stuff like that.
Well, we should probably also mention, and I don't remember if I put it in the description of the video already, that I typed up whenever it was that late night when I was putting things together. But we should mention that you also have a YouTube channel with a lot of really cool stuff from the area around where you live.
Yeah.
So yeah, what is it again? Rail Fan Central? Wait, no. Joint Line.
It used to be Joint Line Rail Fan, and I believe that's the link you got to use, youtube.com/Joint Line Rail Fan, to go exactly to my page. But now I just go by Nick Valdez. That's my official YouTube name.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had that for just over 13 years this month. I've had my YouTube channel, so it's been a lot of fun. And believe it or not, my YouTube channel was really what kicked everything off, other than being a diehard rail fan and always wanted to work on trains in some respect. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, why don't I bring up your slideshow here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you have a few pictures to share, and there you are in the gorge. Cool. With the bridge.
At the hanging bridge right behind me with the EMD number 403 here at the Royal Gorge. As of now, I am the operations superintendent for the company. And like I said, I've been doing something with railroads ever since 2012, 2013. And again, it goes back to my YouTube channel. Through my YouTube channel, I was able to develop a wonderful wealth of friends from not only Colorado, but California, all the way out to Germany. And my Colorado friends, as soon as I was old enough, convinced me to go to work and volunteer at the Colorado Railroad Museum, just start somewhere while I was still in high school. So I started off at the Colorado Railroad Museum in 2013. And I got to partake in a lot of cool projects. And that was the first time I actually got to run a train or operate a train, drive a train, however you say it. But this was a big moment for me. Oh. I got to take part in the 491 project. And this was one of the couple times I was able to actually operate 491. That was a really fun day. It was really cool. It was 2015, I believe this picture was taken, and I was about 20 at the time. So working at the museum was great. And again, working at the museum, I was able to meet more people, make more friends, and hearsay. And, I want to work on a railroad someday. I want to do this. I want to do that. And, let me put in a good word for you here, put in a good word for you there. From Colorado Springs originally. And of course, the closest scenic railway or railroad, if you will, is the Manitou and Pikes Peak Cog Railway. And I figured that's a good place to start. Why not try there? I was originally applying to work in the parking lot, just parking cars. You got to start somewhere if you're going to go to work on the railroad. So I applied, and my resume went around a couple times, and word got out that I had worked on trains in some sort of respect. So I ended up actually just hiring on as an engineer. I was only 18 years old at the time, believe it or not.
Wow.
I became an engineer at the Cog Railway. And of course, it's not like a big railroad where you got to start as conductor, something like that. Tourist operation like the Cog Railway is a bit different, especially with those trains from Switzerland, Europe, Germany. So I worked there for about 3.5 years, and I got to partake in a lot of cool stuff, and I got to see a lot of cool things. I took this picture on my first day of training. It's the first train I got to operate, number 18. The 2-car trains we used to call the big trains. The singles were the small trains. Rail buses. They've got all sorts of different names that they have for them over in Switzerland. But yeah, I worked there. I was able to see a lot of cool stuff, testing trains, waiting in sidings to get out of the way. You can get out, stretch your legs. I got to find vantage points that not a lot of people will get to, especially on a steep railroad like the Cog. Like this picture right here was taken at sunset at right above tree line. It was a really cool moment, something cool to take part in. And I went from being part-time to full-time working in the shop. I even got to have a hand in operating the snowplow. The snowplow is now on display at the Pueblo Railway Museum. I also got to learn how to operate the old work trains from the 30s, the old GEs. I know a couple of them are at the Colorado Railroad Museum now. So I got to partake and get my hands dirty on a lot of cool stuff. There's a picture taken of us cleaning up some snow we did just below Windy Point at 12,000 feet early in the morning. Got to see a lot of cool things and ask questions and learn a lot. Of course, the coolest thing I got to partake in at the Cog Railway was working on what we called the STEAM program. I got on in 2014, but by 2015, we were getting ready for our 125th anniversary. So the old heritage equipment needed to come out. We actually sent the old steam locomotive coach number 104 to Strasburg, Colorado, to Marlon Urick's little locomotive and car shop. That's it, being loaded on the truck and being taken away. Came back with refurbished wheels and brake rigging, and we had a contract painter come in and just made the thing shine. Here's a picture of him doing the minute details of the car. And of course, naturally, we had to work on the steam engine as well. And everybody at the shop, knowing that I was a rail fan, was like, all right, put him on the steam engine. You can have fun working on the steam engine. And it was a lot of fun. I spent many, many days in the back of the shop just working on this thing. Got my hands all over it. Everything from pipe work, welding work, repainting the cab. That's what the cab looked like when we were done with it. A lot of parts made with our electricians, our machinists, some things from our interior guys. It was a lot of good things to learn. And that's when we were all done with it. The locomotive is now on display at the Grand Canyon Railway, of all things, because the Broadmoor and the Cog Railway, Broadmoor sees the Cog Railway, but another company oversees the Broadmoor that also sees Grand Canyon. So long story short, the locomotive is there, still in that paint scheme that I helped to paint. So I'm proud to say locomotive is still staved, locomotive still out there. Unfortunately, it's not at the Cog, but I was still able to have a good time with it. This was when we were testing it to get ready for our 125th anniversary in 2016. And there I am sitting in the engineer seat waiting for a couple of trains to get out of the way before we take off and do another test run. And there's me and the crew. I was the engineer being trained, of course, the day we took the engine, the highest it had been in many, many years, which is only 1 mile above the depot. But we stopped and took a picture because the engine hadn't been up there in so long. And that was one of the last times it ran. Mike, myself, Wyatt, and Jason, from left to right, good guys to work with. I'm still friends with all of them. And so we had a lot of fun with that little steam engine. It was a good career highlight, if you will. And of course, there's a picture of me the last time I worked on it. The last time it ran in 2017, I was already working at Great Western Railway by that time, but they brought me down to come take a look and help out as needed. So like I said, I worked at the Cog for about 3.5 years, and I decided I wanted to see what else was in store in the world. So I applied and ended up going to work at, let me backtrack. Sorry about that. While working at the Cog Railway, I started volunteering. A big thing to do is always volunteer when you can. I started volunteering at the Pueblo Railway Museum. And that's where I actually got to learn to run a locomotive, not just a Cog train, but a locomotive, because they got a small fleet of GP7s there. And not only do you run the trains, the track work, maintaining the on-display equipment like the big old steam engine there, the 2912. I'm still involved with that group whenever I'm able to break away from work and head on out to Pueblo. Great little fun operation. They got their old Colorado, Wyoming GP7s, and they have one of them painted in the bicentennial scheme. We call that the Patriot. They only bring it out a couple times a year. Fun fact, for my 21st birthday, I got to spend my entire 21st birthday operating that locomotive. So that was just a real fun treat, learning how to run and working with everybody. There's a picture of me running in 2017 locomotive. But and then we had them all out one day. That was one of the funnest things I got to do, is drag around all these engines around at the museum. It was a good time. And also, like I said, working on the on-display equipment. I was there the day that we decided to raise the stack on that Santa Fe steam engine. So that was a picture my dad took. He came down, and he still volunteers there every once in a while too. We'll go down there and help out. Like I said, that's us raising up the stack. It was a really hot day that day. But
I have a question. Yeah, I have a question real quick. So I was lucky enough to meet your dad when we were out there for the depot days, whenever that was, a couple months ago. And how much did he play a role in your interest in trains? Because obviously he seems like he's interested in trains too. And I realize this is a side topic, but I'm curious.
No, my dad, he always liked to, capitalize and help out in any interest that he or my brother would partake in. My brother's big into sports, and I just grew up with trains, and he always was trying to help out in any way he could. Being young, being a rail fan, just going out trackside and sitting there and watching trains go by was what we started with doing. And, my dad liked to read. So it was no big thing for him to sit there for 6 hours in Colorado Springs just to watch one train go by. I'm just watching trains pass and watching the world go by, and my dad's just reading away. And he got the bug a little bit himself. And, as a lot of people know, he and I are going all over the place, especially chasing the big UP steam engines. Going out and rail fanning and taking train trips, Nevada, Northern, Cumbres, and Toltec. I owe a lot, and it's been a lot of fun. And to have him partake in it as well has always been really cool. And through that, learning how to make decent enough video for YouTube and perfecting that, and him getting into photography himself, we always enjoy comparing notes and learning how to make the hobby funner and better. So
cool. Yeah, just curious. I pardon my bit of self-indulgence. I just had this thought pop into my head, and I wondered what the relationship was there. So cool. So he was really more of a help than a fan at the time.
Absolutely.
I kept picking up. That's really cool. My parents
he always talks about that, without me, he'd probably see a steam engine like on display in a town and, think, oh, that's pretty cool. But wouldn't go past that. But he always says that he owes a lot to me for me being there and him learning this world, if you will.
Sure. Yeah.
I find this really interesting because I see Nick. I always see his dad right there with him filming. Like when I'm out rail fanning, I'm like, okay, where are they? I'm like, there they are. And we honk at each other and stuff like that and wave. So I just to try to imagine Nick without his dad would be weird. So I've really enjoyed hearing like kind of the backstory and how it got to be you and your dad out chasing. This has been pretty fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. Lots of memories, lots of miles, lots of nights driving all night to go to one place or go to come here or there, or from Colorado to California to Iowa, you name it. We'll beat ourselves up for it, but it's always worth it in the end. We always come away with a whole bunch of crazy stories. It's great. It's awesome. So yeah, but like I said, he's volunteered with us at the museum in Pueblo, and it's always been a great time. He'll always, in any way he can, he'll always offer help. It's always fun. So, but like I said, after I worked at the Cog Railway, I went to work at Great Western. I didn't get a whole lot of pictures at my time there because I was really working on the railroad, nights, holidays, weekends. But I got a couple pictures from my time when I was able to break away and take a couple pictures when I worked at Great Western. They have those little former CN Jeep 40s that have been repainted lately. I know Jen, you and Michelle went down there and have taken a couple pictures a couple times out there watching the Great Western Power go around.
Yep.
That was where I really learned to railroad. That's where I learned a lot and, had to put forth a lot of effort and work real hard. But it was a lot of fun, and I was able to gain a lot of experience moving frac sand, bark, oil, you name it. We moved it out there at Great Western. We did a whole bunch of stuff, and we got to do a lot of interesting things like switch cars around with big old Class 1 power. Like this picture was taken. These big engines are bringing a frac sand train into Windsor to be unloaded. Got to just learn a lot. Like I said, this is leaving Fort Collins, getting onto the Great Western main line with the trainmaster truck there supervising the move. And as you can see, the sun's going down. This crew works from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. So all hours of the day, the railroad's moving. And that's where I learned that, it's going to be a lot of hard work, but, it ends up paying off, especially for me, since I love this stuff, Did
you end up having to take really bad hours on that job due to seniority or whatever, just to get in there?
I did. So after my conductor schooling, which took several months, I went on as the extra board. So I was on call. If somebody took vacation, called sick, wherever they assigned me, I went. And we had job bids once every quarter, once every 3 or 4 months, where based on seniority, if somebody wanted to switch and work on another yard job, they could. And the one that I could hold was nights in the middle of winter.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I learned a lot about winter gear and rain gear. So, but it was a lot of fun. It was
doing that. I just want to say, Nick, doing that when you're young is the right time, because you get a few years under your belt and you don't want to go out in the rain and the snow and the crappy weather and stay up all night running a train. So I can see where you made a really smart decision to do it when you did, because would you want to do that now even?
It'd be a little harder than 5-6 years ago. It'd be a little tougher, especially knowing now what I didn't know then, what lay in store. But, on the railroad, you just got to get the job done and do the best you can. And as long as you stay safe, I'm going to fault you for that.
Sure.
So, it's a lot of cool moments, a lot of interesting sights and things to see on the railroad. I have a whole bunch of pictures up here that, of course, I didn't have my camera handy, but it was a good time. This is leaving, for example, this is leaving Greeley at the Farmers Crossing, heading into Windsor. This is another night job as the sun's going down. They're getting ready to go to work. So, and every once in a while, you'll see some interesting stuff come through. Like we had this old CN SD70. I pulled over one day and took some pictures. Some old stuff will come through every once in a while. So the rail fan in me is always ready to take a picture. So I did that. I was up at Great Western for just over a year. I got my conductor license, and I was the first one in the family to move away from home in quite a while. It was a big experience, exhilarating experience. Like I said, a lot of hard work. And, I was wondering what else was out there, that starting off working with older equipment, working in the scenic railroad industry, I discovered that was a really big niche of mine as well. And again, through friends that I had met working at the Colorado Railroad Museum, I found out that they were hiring down here at Royal Gorge. And so I left Great Western in July of 2018, and I started working at Royal Gorge July 30th, 2018. So we're just a few days away from my 5-year anniversary of being down here in Canyon City.
Happy anniversary, dude.
Thank you. And so I came on down. The railroad at the time, they were looking to re-revolutionize their maintenance program. They had perfected the onboard experience. They perfected the interior design experience. They perfected the operation, but now it was time to really hunker down and work on, the behind the scenes stuff, the heavy mechanical work. They were doing just fine getting along as they were, but now it was time to really put things into high gear and invest in getting the railroad into even stronger shape than it already was at the time. And so I was brought on in an initiative to try and get that ball rolling, being a conductor coming in there with experience across a couple of different areas within the railroad industry, and just seeing what we could do to make things better. But until we got to that point, I just started off as a conductor. I was marked up on August 9th, 2018 as a conductor, right as the busy 2018 summer season was ending, working part-time with mechanical staff, but mostly just on the train. My dad one day on a Saturday decided to drive on down and see me while I was at the depot doing my job. So there I am as a conductor in late 2018.
Before the ponytail.
Yep, before the ponytail, before the hair got long and everything else. Clean shaven.
Throwing me off seeing you short hair, because I've never seen you like this.
Yeah.
You've totally ruined her whole illusion of who you are.
Gosh.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Got to change the look up, every 5, 6, 7 years,
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I did that when I this is a completely sidetracked note, but I want to tell you a funny story. I did that so you have to get a new license for driving every so often. And I've had my hair longer than yours twice in my life. And I don't know what, it was just lucky timing or what, but I was able to be like a super long haired hippie looking dude in one license, and then like this. And then and people would, because I'd always put on my credit card to check my ID, and people would look and they'd look again and be like, what? That's him?
That's
Do
awesome.
a double take on you. Yeah.
Oh, they did. Yeah, double take all the time. It was a lot of fun tricking people.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Yeah, that just people I haven't seen in a long time. Like, Nick, is that you? Hey, how are you? Don't wait to see me again so long. I might have changed up my look by the next time I'll see you. But yeah.
Yeah. So
For a while, Nick had a long beard too.
I did. Yeah. That was in the video that you shot when you came and visited, John.
Yeah, it was pretty long.
It got too hot for that. I'll keep the long hair. It doesn't bother me none, but
yeah, but now there's something else that sometimes goes with long hair, which is you're supposed to be a musician. So are you a musician too?
No. I'm good at the triangle, I'll tell you that. That's all I'm good at.
I can play a mean tambourine.
Yeah, there you go. Spoons. Maybe I'll play the spoons.
Yeah, they wrote a song about you, Spoon Man.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Train hippie. That's what I'm going for. Train hippie.
Train hippie works. Yeah.
I'm not riding the rails. I'm working the rails.
I do have a train related question, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That is. So I know from knowing a lot of people that have worked in the railroad industry that sometimes being a foamer, I'll just call it being a foamer, can be something that they don't like. Like you don't want to go on to get hired and tell them, oh, I really am a foamer. I love trains. Because what I've been told is they will look at you funny or they won't hire you because they don't think you're serious about railroading.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious if that's, I have a second part to this, but I'm curious if that's been your experience. The second part to it is, or the other thing that I've noticed is that most, if not all of the people that I've known who work for railroads, whether it's class one or whatever, are foamers. So what's that whole angle on foamer, saying you're a foamer versus not saying you're a foamer kind of thing? Have you noticed anything like that?
Yeah, in my experience, especially for me, it always comes out at some point. It always comes out at some point. Like my first day as a student conductor at Great Western, I was going around with one of their conductors and he was just asking, what do you do for fun? And I was like, I go and take pictures with my dad. Oh, of what? Like wildlife, like mountains, like what? And I was like, trains. And he looked at me and he goes, oh, so you're a foamer. Okay. Immediately, right off the bat.
Yeah.
You know, it comes out sooner rather than later. And in my experience, you can be a diehard rail fan, but when it's time to get serious and do the work, you have to do it.
Oh, sure.
You know, it's you can't sit there and go, ooh, look at that, or oh, look at that all the time. You know, there are moments where you have to be professional in your work and you have to be, do your work well, or else, people aren't going to take a liking to you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've seen it both ways. People that, oh, great, we got another rail fan that works here. I go home and I don't think about trains. I hate trains. Or I've worked with guys who are in their 70s who've been taking pictures of trains their entire life and have put away 30, 40 years on the railroad. So it's just a little give and take, and, containing your excitement when you have to, don't
be like, heritage unit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh man, I get to do this or do that today. You can take a step back and go, that was pretty cool what I did today. But, you got to be professional about it when the time comes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just wanted to bring this picture up too. Like, here's another picture of me with looking different, Jen.
Looking pretty satisfied with your position there too.
I don't recognize him at all.
Yeah, it was great. It was wonderful. Down here at Royal Gorge, most train crews, most of the time we have a set schedule. I know what I'm going to do every day. I'm not going to be on the other end of the county at the end of my shift. I know I'm coming home every day. And working in the tourist railroad industry, you get to work with people who are out there to have a good time. They're not taking the train just to get from point A to point B. These people are on vacation. They, want to be there. They're excited to be there, and to just match that energy with those people. I take a lot of enjoyment with that as well. So it's always fun. You never know what you're going to see, and you never know who you're going to meet any day you're on the railroad. And I did that for quite a while, and I still do it to this day, meeting all sorts of people, like you guys, being good friends with all of you, and pastors that we see throughout every single trip. But no, I was a conductor for a while, and through my previous railroading experience, before long, they sat me down in the office with the rule book and a test and went, figure it out. You're going to be a student engineer now. And I was like, okay, here we go. This is it. So I became a student engineer in October 2018. And they put me through the process running every day. And by November 8th, 2018, I was marked up as an engineer. And I did all of my engineer training in the F units. I did all my training in the 403 and the B unit. And on my very first run solo, my dad came down. And so these next series of pictures were taken by my dad to photograph and document my very first trip. You can see me down there inspecting the B unit in the lower right there. Brand new overalls, brand new engineer hat, brand new watch. I was ready to go. I was, let's do this. I had made it at that point. I had made it.
Dude had a new lunchbox for the first day of school.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Did you have a trapper keeper for your paperwork?
Yeah. All the pens and the bibs. At the Royal Gorge, we do offer cab rides. And I just want to put this in there because my very first solo trip, I had cab riders, and I did tell them straight up, and I wasn't lying, that was my very first ever trip alone.
I love it. How did they react?
They kind of got a little silent and started asking me about how the training process works.
That's great.
So yeah, my dad was standing there when they climbed aboard. So I said, all right, let's do this. Remember your training. So we are getting ready to leave. It was just one trip that day. We made a trip at 12:30 because it was in the fall. So we don't run obviously as frequently in the fall, but we still run every day. And then my dad zipped on out to Parkdale on the other end of the railroad, and I'm in the GP40 on the back of the train, and we're getting ready to take it back into Canyon City. So come back into town, and that's me meeting with the conductor. And you may be wondering why I have an engineer hat on and an engineer hat in my hand. Well, of all things, my girlfriend was not working that day, and she bought a ticket and wanted to ride the first train that I was running solo, and she bought me an engineer hat that had Royal Gorge on it. So I got both hats in my hand. So that's me talking with my conductor at the end of the day. I'm probably walking up being like, I didn't knock anybody around, did I? I didn't put anybody on the ground or spill any drinks.
Yeah, spilled beer. You'd hear about that.
Yep. But must have been a good trip because I got 2 to-go boxes in my hand, so they probably decided to feed me. I'm like, well, he did all right,
They probably felt sorry for you.
Yeah. Like, oh, poor guy.
That's great, though. Look how happy you are. You can't fake a smile like that.
Not at all. No, I was over the moon, and I'm there with my conductor. His name is Sean. He came down from Great Western with me. He works at Rock and Rail now. He's my best buddy, and we love to railroad together. I owe a lot to him because he taught me a lot of things about being a good conductor and a really good engineer. So I got to run the first trip with him. That was really great. That was a big day and a big moment. I was really happy my dad was there to capture all of it. So let's see.
Can you tell us a little bit about what is Rock and Rail?
So Rock and Rail, I'll leave it on that picture. Rock and Rail.
There's the Rock and the Rail right there.
Exactly. There's Rock and Rail. That's what it is. We co-own the trackage through the gorge with a company called Rock and Rail. And they are a short line railroad that is overseen by Martin Marietta. At Parkdale, where the passenger train reverses direction and goes back, there's a quarry where rock trains go up to in the middle of the night to be loaded with rock. And that was part of the agreement in 1998. We bought the line from Union Pacific. They take care of the track maintenance and the signal maintenance, and we just run the passenger side of things and foot the bill whenever we have to. So there is another railroad that runs down here, Rock and Rail, and Union Pacific still comes into Canyon City every so often. But like I said, Rock and Rail only runs at night. So, but I just wanted to put this up there to show everybody that anything can happen on the railroad. I was engineer on this day, come around the corner, and there's a rock. So we stopped and had a briefing, made sure it was safe, pulled my camera out or turned my phone on, put my camera on my phone, took a picture of this big old rock. And Rock and Rail will come out and handle situations like this for us. They'll come out with a truck and move the rock out of the way.
That's cool.
Yeah. This was October 2020, I want to say. Come around the corner and there's the rock, and slide fences all busted up and everything. So there are dangers on the railroad, but like I said, you're always going to see something. It's always a new day on the railroad. And speaking of heritage units, like you said earlier. Every once in a while, it was cool to, whenever something cool was on the rock train, pull out the phone and snap a picture. The Rio Grande Heritage Unit was on the rock train for a number of weeks back in 2020. It got so common to see, like, okay, there goes the Rio Grande Heritage Unit. It went through like 15 or 20 times. But aside from seeing the passenger train, some cool things still happen around Canyon City with Rock and Rail. So I just want to put that up there too.
It seems strangely appropriate that the Rio Grande unit would be on that line.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if somebody planned it just to be funny, or that was just luck of the draw, but it ended up down here with the Royal Gorge Route Herald on the side, running rock trains through the Royal Gorge. A lot of people, Eric Lindgren did come down and take a bunch of pictures, and I think Derek Brown did too.
Eric and Derek tend to travel together, don't they?
Yeah, they. In my experiences, I have seen them together a couple times, as a matter of fact. Yeah. So they got some really cool pictures in their arsenal of this thing going through the Royal Gorge in the early morning hours. But from here, I wanted to get started on, going back to revolutionizing that mechanical aspect of the operation. When I started, we didn't necessarily have a shop. We had 2 garages in the downstairs of our administration building. That was our shop. And upper management at the time was trying to build a shop. And what they tried to do was build a shop up at Parkdale. They got so far as to laying track before the idea was scrubbed, but we were going to have our shop up in Parkdale. We'd have to commute up there every day if we were going to work in the shop. But that track is still there to this day, and we use it now for equipment storage. But we ended up getting a shop at 11th Street, which, of course, John and Jen, you guys have visited. This is our shop at 11th Street. We had a 1-bay building where we could do all of our maintenance, and it was pretty crowded because we had the interior guys working, we had the plumbers working, we had the metal guys working, we had the carmen. We spent most of the pandemic in this building while the railroad was shut down. We were just plugging away on updating all the cars and getting everything ready to go for whenever we would operate again, which ended up being May of 2020. But as we got going, the landlords of our shop offered to clean out his Quonset hut, and we could lay track into that, and we would make that our car shop. There's just another picture of a stencil of work we were doing. And so he cleaned out his old equipment, and we laid track into the Quonset hut. And you guys remember going into that car shop where that open air car was being painted? Mm-hmm. This was what it was when we first laid track, and we had nothing in there. And so from that on in 2019, it was a process to bring everything up to our standard to perform heavy maintenance on all of our equipment. And we found that we could still squeak a dome through with the window or the door opening that we had at one time. That was a close squeeze we used to have to get in and out of that Quonset hut, but we have since made the doors bigger. Just figured that was a crazy picture to share with you all. Looking
it looks
back,
like it's totally gonna scrape.
it missed by about a 1/4 inch.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's what we had to work with for a while until we can get some guys in there to open up the door openings and put in a garage door and everything else. So we get everything set up. It's time to start purchasing tools. We found a company that had secondhand tooling and machinery for sale. We found those whiting jacks that I was mentioning in that video that I had with you, John. And that really helped us out because at that point we can roll the wheels out from underneath the cars, which is something that hadn't been done in many, many years. So this was one of the first cars we had up in the air, and roll the wheels and the trucks out, clean the trucks, and really rejuvenate everything that needed, cleaning or reworking. So that's one of our Carmen right there, Keith. And those trucks have a new sets of wheels in them. That's brand new wheels ready to go back underneath the car. All right, we can do it with a coach. Can we do it with a dome? And that's the first time that dome has been in the air in probably about 30 years. We learned that the jacks were strong enough, and so we gave it a shot, put the domes up in the air. The Quonset hut's big enough, rolled the trucks out rather, and get everything going. And this is a cool picture. This is the top of the trucks looking down, and if you can see, it says ATSF on that picture because those former Santa Fe domes. So there's some markings of the Santa Fe still left on some of these dome cars. That was a really cool picture. We were able to unearth that after cleaning off the years of miles and grime and grease and everything off of it. Hadn't been that clean in many years. So we're really excited to see that. Of course, more wheel work, using a crane to lift the trucks up to get the wheels out, take the old wheels out, put the new wheels in, make for a smoother ride, get rid of all the flat spots on the wheels, better ride for our passengers, and have a program in place to service and treat everything well so it doesn't break or doesn't wear down quicker. And then, so we got the car fleet ready to go. Let's work on our locomotives. Well, we found our wheel lathe was still in good position or good condition. So we put it into a position over our pit where we could turn wheels, just like a huge locomotive facility that a Class 1 railroad would have. We were able to turn wheels, get rid of flat spots, and really put the shine back on the wheels, put everything back around. And that's all the metal shavings after we're done with just one wheel.
How much does that weigh?
The shavings themselves?
Yeah.
It's
Sorry,
heavy.
I think of these things.
It's pretty heavy, and if we didn't weigh it or anything, but you had to have gloves on because that stuff's real sharp.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Real sharp. It looks fluffy from the picture, but it's not.
Looks like a metal tumbleweed.
Yeah, there you go. Bernard, if you're watching.
A metal tumbleweed. Boy,
Metal tumbleweed. I like that. That's
we're
smart.
getting all kinds of tie-ins. Now we
Yeah,
got
there we go. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So we got our passenger fleet updated, the current locomotives we had updated. Now it's time to start shopping for more power. And of course, the SD40s that I talked about in the video, this is when the first two and the caboose showed up in June of 2021 from the Escalante Western. This is what they looked like right after Union Pacific dropped them off. They came as a set. So we were originally just looking for one locomotive. We ended up buying three. And
it's like when you go to the train shop, right? The model store.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
I just needed a bottle of CA glue and I got like 3 locomotives.
Yeah. Yeah, they came to me with the link and we got these SD40s for sale. What do you think? And I said, okay. Our mechanical forces flew down to New Mexico and checked them out and signed off on them. So we pulled the trigger and wrote the check, and they showed up even with the caboose as well as kind of a bonus. And that is a caboose that's now over at our little coffee shop by the depot. So
Got to check that out next time I'm down there. I didn't get to look at the coffee shop.
Yeah, it's all completed. We were wrapping up construction when you guys were here, but it's all completed now. It's a real nice place to hang out.
Cool.
Yeah, and this is when the locomotives finally made their way into the shop complex, all 3 of them. You can see the first 2 SD40s, the caboose, and then the last one showed up later. It's stuffed in the back, and so it's time to start tearing into those and getting everything ready to go. And as you guys saw when you rode with us, they're painted nice, they run nice, they're in great shape, and so we like them. We like them.
Dude, seriously, they look brand new. That was something that I want to actually compliment you or, Royal Gorge Route on, is how good the equipment looks. I mean, I would expect that you probably didn't even run them like this, did you, on the train? Did they ever pull a train looking like this?
We had to put one into service one time in August of 2021. Engine broke down, and we figured we'd give one of these a test. It went out once, pushing the train up and back, but that's it.
See what I'm saying? Like, that's an attention. That's one of those sort of commitment to the marketing, if you will, to have a look.
Yes.
And they look beautiful. I mean, looking at just the pictures are stunning. Like I would love to make pictures of these engines my thumbnails for all my videos because they look so good. I mean,
Awesome.
It's a stupid comment, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We take a lot of pride in them, and
well, it shows, and you should, because it's one of the best looking operations that I think I've seen.
Awesome. I'm glad. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Thank you.
They look clean and new. They're beautiful.
Mm-hmm. We make sure to shine whenever train crew has a lot of downtime. I'm telling them, get out there and clean them and clean the engines. Take pride in your ride.
Thing.
So, and then, like I said, we did a coach, we did a dome. Let's get a locomotive up in the air. And I mentioned in the video replacing the traction motors in the 601. This was when we had the 601 in the air for the very first time, and we rolled the first traction motor out for the very first time.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was a big moment. Lots of high fives all around after we got it done.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and now we know we have the capability to perform that.
I think we have a question here that's actually answered on the video that we shot when I was there. But if you want to take that real quick, I think it's worth just a quick mention of what you guys do.
Yeah. So how we operate, it is push pull. We have one locomotive on the west end. We used to have a locomotive on the back of our full consist, but the SD40s eliminated the need to have a locomotive on the rear. So we take everything westbound up to Parkdale and we just reverse direction and go back, just backwards and forwards every trip.
The interesting thing about that, Dave, is that they have what did you call that? A control platform that you showed me when we were on the train. What's that? The control stand on the car?
Yeah, we call that the shove booth.
The shove booth. Okay. Yeah. I couldn't remember what terminology you used. So, but the shove booth is not, so it's push pull, but it's not like a cab car where the person attending at the shove booth is actually doing anything other than conduct or talking to the engineer about what's on the track, right?
Correct. Yep. The one locomotive provides the propulsion up and back. Right. It's mostly uphill all the way to Parkdale and downhill back to Canyon City. So air brakes and dynamic braking and the conductors in our shove booth, which is a modified vestibule with a windshield, a horn, a bell, the radio for the conductor to obviously communicate with the engineer on the way back to town. So it's just one giant 10-mile shove from Parkdale all the way back to Canyon City.
Yeah. I thought it was worth mentioning because push pull, at least to me, sort of implies that there's a cab car controlling everything on the rear end of the train.
Right. So. I should just call it pull and shove. Just pull and shove instead of pull and push.
Right.
But yeah, it's
the conductors. Protecting the shove from the shove booth. That makes a lot of sense when you think of it that way.
Mm-hmm. And as an engineer here at Royal Gorge, you have to get really comfortable of going backwards for long periods of time. Place a lot of trust in your conductor, and it goes back to the good training that we offer. So yeah, that's the engine up in the air. That was April of 2022, I want to say, when we did that.
That's a really cool picture.
Yeah, that was a big day. We even had ownership down to take a look at the work that we were doing. Ownership was getting a big kick of having this big engine up in the air. But the most recent big project we did was we created a brand new generator car. And this is what the car looked like when we came to it and realized we could utilize it as a generator car. We have some equipment stored at the Pueblo Railway Museum because we just don't have the space. And me and the shop foreman and the superintendent at the time went down to Pueblo. I told my friends from the Pueblo Museum we were coming down, and we just wanted to see what equipment was around, see if there was anything we could use. And I told them several times that we had this old Southern Pacific economy baggage car sitting there. That was ours, and it could be turned into something, a kitchen, a tool car, or a generator car. And our shop foreman took a look at it, and preliminarily the wheels were in great shape and the interior was solid. The car didn't have any major rust spots. So he said, let's get it. Let's pay UP to bring it back to us to Canyon City, and let's see if we can make us a generator car. So this project ended up being just over a year. It finally came back to Canyon City, and first things first was to make sure that the floor was sturdy enough to hold not one, but two big generator engines in it to supply 480 power to the train. So that's our shop foreman welding the supports down to the floor and making sure the floor was strong to have the big weight that we were about to drop in it. And a testament to the Southern Pacific and to how well kept this car was. This is the brake piston that rides in the cylinder of the car, and this is what it looked like when I pulled it out of the cylinder.
That was brand new.
Yeah, and that black gasket that's on the top of the piston had a date of 1973 on it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was in wonderful shape.
Boy, we don't make stuff like that anymore.
No. Yeah. I had to take a picture because I was like, geez, this thing looks great. So we knew we made a good choice by choosing this car to undertake this project. And then this is the day that we were getting the generator engines actually inside the cars themselves. We had to use the man that owns the land that our shop sits on. We had to use his big forklift to take these two big generator engines and put them inside. And they barely fit with about a 1/4 inch on either sides of the big openings that we were able to cut out of the side doors, make the side doors bigger, and stick them both in an afternoon. So
it's kind of an unrelated question on the screen, but I thought it's relevant to the topic that we're talking about overall, though.
Yeah. No, so job positions at the railroad, just go to royalgorgeroute.com. We do have an employees or employment tab. Right now, we're working on ramping up onboard staff for our Santa Express season. That's mainly what our big focus is. We're one company. We don't offer any volunteer or anything like that. Part-time and full-time positions available. And from what I understand, they do a good job at keeping positions that are posted on the website. We do a good job of updating that. So,
very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. And that's the finished product. When we got the engine set into place, we'll start welding them to the floor and start wiring everything up and plugging everything in. And that's what the big openings look like with the doors closed. We had our welders fabricate brand new doors. Like I said, we widened the original baggage door openings, made them bigger to fit the engines in. And that middle where the doors come together, that can be unbolted. So if the engine ever needs to come out for big maintenance, the welds can be cut and the engine could be forklifted back out of the car for heavy maintenance. So we put that in mind as well when we were working on the car. And the car had no diaphragms to go from one car to the other. So our carmen had to work and create their own diaphragms for the car. And this is one of them once they were all completely done with the buffer plate right above the coupler and the huge pieces of metal that swing down and help keep everything into place. That took a lot of time and a lot of math, a lot of thinking, but they were able to fabricate our own diaphragm. So that was another big key thing that we learned to do. And thankfully everything works well.
The amount of work that you're able to do in-house is really remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was kind of one of the major points that ownership and upper management were trying to get to, is because when I started, we did have a lot of third-party contractors come in and do the work for us. And they just really wanted to invest in a mechanical force that could do everything in-house and pay people to, do it their way.
Sure.
And not be at the whim of somebody we would have to call and wait to come out and help fix any sort of issue that may arise.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense cost-wise and also control-wise. So that's it seems like a smart business move.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the pride that we all take in it, when we were wrapping up this generator car, we were thinking like, man, if this gets out there, it gets published in a magazine or something like that, it'd be cool if other railroads came to us to see how we did it, get our names out there and see, what can you do for this? What can you do for that? Well, this is how we did it, but this is the interior of the car while the generator was working on getting wired up. The big old cables that end up going in between the cars to power the train, they come out of the generator themselves and go up on these big old ladder racks. And I helped fabricate this, put this all together. The north side baggage car openings we had to seal off, and that's the venting for the exhaust for the engines to go out. So the south side doors are the only doors that open. Everything else is sealed off to the north side. So we got just about all the work done inside. It was time for our painters to get working on the car, get everything going. And these two guys, Robbie and Billy, props to them. They do fantastic work. They've cut their teeth on restoring hot rods and cars and things of that sort. So any project we give them and we tell them what they want and they do it, and they do a fantastic job, as you'll see. So this is them getting ready to prime and prep the exterior for paint. And this is once the car needed to be inside as the weather got cooler. This is everything masked off. That's when they just completed the Royal Gorge Route logo on the side. And while the painters were working on that, they had just completed the 602, the Christmas locomotive. So it was time.
These guys do great work, don't they? I mean, when we met them that day, I was like, these are the guys that did all the painting? Like, oh yeah, that's them.
I love that we walk in, they're listening to some 80s hair band. It was great. And then
oh yeah. They were listening to Wasp. I'm sure they were really impressed that someone recognized with the right. I hope they were impressed that someone recognized the music. As a former musician myself, that's how I knew about the hair.
Oh, perfect. Yep, that's it. There you go.
Yeah, I totally recognized the group they were listening to. Like, is someone listening to Wasp? And they're like, yeah. I wanted to ask you about this paint job because there was a I'm trying to. I'm going to tell you this story without trying to make it, without trying to be negative about it. But someone had a really negative comment about this paint scheme, and I thought it was cool.
I thought it was really cool.
And this was recently on Facebook. And frankly, to be honest, Nick, I wanted to type in there, no one cares what your opinion is unless you own this locomotive. You don't get a choice, or you don't get an opinion, because it doesn't matter.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, it's when we saw what the final rendering was going to be, a lot of us initially went, because we were only seeing it on paper.
Uh-huh.
We looked at it and we went, wow, okay, this is going to be crazy. Okay. Well, then it came
in person,
to be.
It looks great.
Yeah, we came to be, and we were taken aback at how it looked. And it came to the point where it's like, you know what? Somebody may call it a toy train. Somebody might call it a silly children or weird looking Christmas train. But I tell everybody, look, it's our train. And I'll tell you what, I'm proud of it. This is really cool. What other railroad out there has something crazy like this for a holiday train? You know,
right. And the details and the painting and the colors and how like crisp the lines are, it's just stunning and beautiful. Like, people really need to see this close up.
Yeah, it's great.
Thinking about it, to me, what's really remarkable about it is that you have a dedicated locomotive just for the Christmas trains. How many operations can say that they've done that? That's how well things are run.
Yep, that's it.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I would be so, you've said it many times about how proud everybody is to work there, the people who work there. And I get it, because you can do stuff, or you do stuff that other places, a lot of other places can't do or don't do. And it's this commitment of having to do things a certain way. And I mean, I'm really impressed by it. And I hope I don't sound like I'm blowing smoke.
Oh, no, not at all. Well, I appreciate that. And I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see further and further through you and everybody else that comes out and actually sees it, that there is a true appreciation for it, and a surprise, if you will, of the lengths that we will go to, just make this place as cool as it can be and as unique as it can be.
Do you know what I want to see? I want to see one of the model manufacturers do this paint scheme.
Yeah, that would
I'm not even kidding. One of the main ones. I don't know who makes the SD. What is it, an SD40-2 or an SD40?
SD40-2.
Yeah. -2. Who makes the SD40-2s? I don't remember. I'm pretty sure Athearn makes them.
Athearn. I don't know if Bachman makes them. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't think Atlas makes an SD40-2. They make a GP40.
Okay.
Well, the point is, I just wonder, because I know you have the original renderings for the paint jobs, right? I took a picture of one of them.
Yeah.
It would be so easy for them to just get that stuff from you and just apply it to whatever SD40-2 they already make.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it seems like it would be pretty easy. And it also seems like people would, well, I don't know. I'd want one.
I would. And I know that the painters know that I do a little bit of model railroading stuff too. And they go, Nick, if that ever came to be, we need one, because so they can put it on their mantle and be like, I painted the real one.
Right.
This is my creation.
Yep. Sorry, I don't mean to,
Oh, no, you're good.
I don't mean to fangirl you on the paint job on this Christmas train. I just think
please do.
Cool. Yeah. Now we have the best viewers on YouTube, and we just found out someone makes them. Kato made a SD40-2.
Oh,
interesting.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Does Scale Trains make SD40-2s?
I think they do, because I seem to remember them making a Burlington Northern one that I thought looked really sharp. I wonder if they'd be interested. I'm going to see Shane next week. He's actually going to be out here for his road show. That's the guy that, runs Scale Trains.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might ask him, can you do me a favor and send me in email some photos of this? I just want to show him and just see what he says about it when I see him. Hopefully I'll remember. We're going to be making a video, so I might forget, but I'll try to run that past him just to see what he thinks about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'd be honest with you, I don't know what ownership would think of an undertaking such as that, but if somebody wants to take a look at it and get some detailed photographs, by all means, I can definitely do that for you.
Sure.
And then going back to the testament of the painters, they went immediately from this over to painting the generator car. And this took several months, but we are under some not tight deadlines, but we had a schedule lined out for all this to be done for our most recent Santa Express. And so it was just get this completed, roll it out the door. and then mechanical crews can do the final touches on the SD40 while the painters change over and start doing the generator car.
There's a good comment. I think Dave has a great idea there.
Good idea, Dave.
And I know that Scale Trains has done similar deals with other places. Like when they made their turbine,
Okay.
they made the the GTEL thing. They made number 18,
Mm-hmm.
and a whole bunch of money went to the museum wherever that number 18 was, because they let them come measure and do all their modeling stuff to make their tooling.
Oh, perfect.
They gave them free run of the place to get whatever they needed to make that model as good as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the money went back to, and I can't remember now where it is. You guys probably know, but I don't remember. I want to say it's in Illinois someplace, but I just don't remember.
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Illinois Railway Museum has the 18.
Is it
I think. I don't remember which one's in Ogden, but those are the only two turbines that I'm aware of. They might be the only two that left.
It is Illinois Railway Museum. Okay. Dave is a volunteer / member there. And
perfect.
He knows everything about it. So I was right. It is in Illinois somewhere. And he says, yes, they did donate or send back some of the money from the sales, which is a great win-win, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They'd be over the moon for that. And to have like this available in the gift shop, that would just
be dynamite. You'd sell so many of those, I'm sure.
That'd be a big old hit for sure.
That'd be amazing. Gotta get this happen.
Right, especially if you told people on the train, by the way, you can get this locomotive in our gift shop.
Yeah, get a model. Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Well, doesn't the Rocky Mountaineer only sell their models on their train?
I did not know that.
I don't know.
No, I think is the one who told me that. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I know that.
Someone knows.
Yeah, I know that Rapido made them, but I don't know where they were sold. So you may be onto something there. I think it's something that is worth looking into at least, because it's marketing. It's more marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, you know what? You know why I really want it to happen? Because I want the person that made that stupid comment to have it rubbed in his face.
Yes.
Take a look at this.
Exactly. Look, all these people are buying the locomotive you hate. Yeah, you loser. I shouldn't talk like that. Might be someone who's watching it. I was going to be mad at me.
Everybody send the guy like a picture of it in the mail for like a year straight, just to make him really love it.
But what we should all do is put a picture of this as our profile picture on Facebook.
There you go.
Every train group just like put it everywhere.
Well, and to further that matter, if you will, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but we've had this engine on the front of the train for the past month.
Oh, really?
Christmas in July.
Oh, is that what you're doing? Sorry, I don't know that, but that's a cool thing. I mean, yeah, we should maybe at some point, I know you have a bunch more pictures and we should definitely go through those, but I want to know before we're all done with this, what, give us some reasons for people to come out there to Royal Gorge Route to see it, because the ride alone is worth it, right? And the food on the train was actually very good.
Awesome.
The beer was especially good. I don't remember what it was, but I really enjoyed that beer. Cool. I took a picture of it. I even bought the beer cup. So the
pint glass.
Yeah. So I have it in my freezer right now.
Oh, cool. All right.
So I think about it. I think about the Royal Gorge Route train fairly often whenever I have a beer with my pizza or whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good to know. And good marketing as well.
Yeah. If you find your ears are burning much of the time, it's probably I'm drinking a beer.
That's awesome. That's good.
Anyway, please proceed, sir.
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
no, you're good. Yeah.
I don't mean to go off on tangents, but some things I think are worth talking about.
Oh, of course. No, I've got a few more pictures, if I recall, of this in my arsenal. But yeah, I was just, with the painter swapping over, mechanical staff are doing the final touches. And this picture was taken when we were load testing the 602. And that's when you put it into test mode and you put it at full power and you make sure how everything's operating, and you can make calculations to check the horsepower it's making. And so it's sitting there in notch 8 in this picture.
Oh, that must have been loud.
Yeah, I don't know if it's quite the rush to sit there, and it's not moving, but it's just as loud as it can be. You feel it in your chest. Yeah, and then you can see one of our mechanical guys has his head in the little panel there, checking stuff out, obviously with earplugs and all sorts of PPE.
Yeah, I would hope so, but maybe earplugs plus the ear muffs, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Yeah.
So we were doing the final touches on it to make sure that it was good to go. But then everything started to finally come together, and there's the finished product.
Now, are those painters employed at Royal Gorge full time?
They became employed full time after they finished the 602. They usually just did their own custom work, but they just did such a great job, and they love us. We love them. We get along great. And that was kind of one of the last pieces of the puzzle of having a good mechanical staff was, do you guys want to come work with us full time? Because we got work lined out. We got cars that are always going to need touch-up work here and there. The other Royal Gorge properties that we have, how about it? And they said yes, and they work full time for us.
I may have asked you that when we were there, but I didn't remember the answer to the question. That's really cool. I mean, how many railroads have full-time paint staff other than class 1 type deals? I mean, even they might contract paint work. I don't know how that works, but
right, yeah,
that's what I mean. Like Royal Gorge is doing something right.
Yeah,
doing a lot of something right.
Mm-hmm. A lot of good investment, and with the good product that we're able to put out for them and the projects we were able to complete for them, they're liking it. And so, it's just all been smooth sailing, with, your usual challenges that may come with any undertaking or any project. But, as long as we get the job done and have a can-do attitude, we get it done. And as you can see, this, we made something with this generator car that's never been produced before of this, look or, size or setup.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really cool that when this rolled out the door, the shop foreman sent me a picture. He goes, "It started with you telling me that this needed to be a generator car. Good job." And I was like, "Well, good job to you." I just held the wrench for you while you had your head underneath the car.
Yeah, I can hear all the golf clapping going on in the audience right now.
Yeah. It's a great machine, and it works really well. It works really well. And we've had it on throughout the Santa Express, and we've had it on throughout the summer. It's been running great. Running real great. So we had our 2 biggest pieces for Santa Express that we were looking forward to. And there it is, ready to go on the train, the 602 and the 8001 generator car after, I believe it's 2nd or 3rd day in use on the passenger train. There it is, humming away as we get ready to shut down for the night.
There must have been such a feeling of satisfaction seeing that and knowing how it was operating.
Yes.
After the big projects that these things were, I could just imagine.
Oh, it was a sigh of relief, and great accomplishment that we did it. We made it. Now we know we can do it. The sky's the limit.
Just excellent.
Yeah. And for the finishing touch for Santa Express, we set up these big old lights that illuminate the locomotive, and we had a little area in our maintenance vehicle parking lot where after the ride guests can come to the fence and snap all the pictures they wanted of the new Christmas engine that we had on it.
That's actually a really good idea to do. I like that you guys did that.
Mm-hmm. And we had a meeting. We've had our first Santa Express meeting just last week because it's time to start planning for this year's. And I asked if that was coming back, and they said, yes, it was a big hit. It is coming back. So people after the ride will be able to come up and get their pictures of the locomotive from a safe distance, of course, with it lit up in the night.
So, it's just great.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the projects never end. We're just about to wrap up one of these Santa Fe full-length domes, and this is the next one we're tearing into. And this is our next big year and a half project. This dome we picked up from the Iowa Pacific.
Is this the one that we saw?
Yep. Just the gray one sitting behind the F units.
Mm-hmm.
It's up in the air right now. Its wheels are out getting wheel work, and the interior guys have gutted the interior, and it's time to start putting everything together, making plans. It's going to be a kitchen downstairs and full seating upstairs, just like the rest of the domes on the train.
And it was already in pretty good shape. So to think that you're going to redo the whole thing, to me is just mind blowing. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's going to take a while. Like I said, this one's probably going to be a year, 18 months out, but the projects never stop. We're always looking for ways to revolutionize the operation. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of cool things to see evolve, especially in the 5 years that I've been there, with not having a shop to having a shop with 3 tracks on it. And we're just about to start laying track across 11th Street to put in a 3rd building in which we can roll cars into. And that's going to be the paint booth, where we can just give a car to the painters, leave it alone, and it's up to them to work their magic.
I bet those guys are going to love that.
Yes. Yeah. Not crawling over us or waiting for the weather to be nice so they could paint outside or inside, So it's been good.
I'm like wondering, like, what else can Royal Gorge do? Like, you guys have done some truly amazing things.
Yeah, it's who's to say what the future holds. I honestly have no idea. I mean, we've got a nice thing going, and we're just making sure that it stays going better and better every year. So, but yeah, with this picture, I just wanted to get into how I ended up into the position I'm at now. I don't know if you can see my name or not at the bottom of the page, but this is the first timetable that went out with my name as superintendent.
It's kind of hard to see. I made the picture bigger, but it's still kind of hard to see.
Okay. All right. That's no problem. But, through all the pictures that I've showed you guys that I've just taken over the years, yeah, I took the pictures, but what was I doing there at the moment? What was I doing in the current time other than just being a conductor and an engineer? Just learning, working whenever I had a day to work with mechanical staff, just learning. I did do a little bit of time in college with welding and fabrication, so I'm able to touch up on that. We have an army of people ranging from fabricators, electricians, interior guys that do fantastic woodworking, even our painters, and HVAC is another big key component of the operation. Always being open to learn and just finding something that interests you and something that you can put good work and good energy towards. I was essentially an assistant carman along with being an engineer and a conductor. Whenever the wheels rolled out from underneath of the train, I was there helping the head carman do all sorts of work, from cleaning, putting new wheels underneath cars, the car ends, like those diaphragms, making sure the vestibules, everything looked nice, metal work. And along with that, just making sure that I kept up my experience, stayed focused, and learned to continue to be the best engineer and best conductor that I can be. And I ended up being a DSLE, which for those that don't know, is a designated supervisor of locomotive engineers. It's basically a road foreman. I became that in April of 2022. And so I was promoted to being in charge of training and supervising all the engineers that we have, giving them check rides, running them through the training process, testing them, efficiency testing them. And that ended up being more the office aspect of things, along with getting out in the field and working with the guys. And so I was doing that, working closely with the superintendent, working closely with upper management, planning switch moves to reorganize the train, just a whole bunch of different things. And the first day of last year's Santa Express, ownership called me into the office and said, "Well, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on becoming the operations superintendent of the railroad?" And I hemmed and hawed over it, and I thought to myself, well, can I at least get us through Santa Express and see how I do? Well, they still haven't gotten back to me to see how I've been doing. So
I think you passed your probation.
So here I am.
So really, it sounds to me like just trying to learn as much as you can. But you also have to find some base level of skill. Like you were saying, you took welding in college or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you tell someone who's, 15 or 16 and wants to become the operations superintendent of their local railroad? What would you tell them in terms of like that baseline of skill or information or knowledge that they might need to sort of become valuable? I mean, your attitude has more to do with any of that, because you can always learn that stuff. But I don't know. I'm trying to ask a question, but I'm stumbling over it.
Well, step one is, as soon as you can, get involved somehow. And it could be volunteering at a museum like I did, or, gaining friendship through the hobby, like how I did with my YouTube, or model railroading, and just starting somewhere. And if you want to just be train crew, that's one thing. But if you want to learn the other sides of things, that comes with time. And the other thing too is have an end goal, but don't have a plan as to how you're going to get there. This is beyond anything that I'd ever expected to do. And, leave yourself open to direction. different directions, different opportunities, weighing out the odds and just working hard and staying focused. Focus is a big one. Not only with the safety, side of things, staying focused and remaining safe, but focusing on your end goal and making sure that that's what you want and working to achieve that. That's basically, ground zero, step one. Want to work on trains, figure out how you can do it personally. Where do you live? Can you go volunteer punching tickets as people step on a train somewhere? Start somewhere and work your way up, and don't be looking to rush. Nobody becomes a conductor overnight. Nobody becomes an engineer overnight. We've got guys, one of my good conductors that I have, he started as a guest liaison, a tour guide on board the train when he was 15, 16 years old. He's now 21, and he's been a conductor for 2 years. You got to start somewhere in any operation. So that's really the best that I've got.
Something that I've seen, not just in the railroad industry, but really in a lot of jobs, is to learn all the jobs so you're as valuable to the company as possible. Mm-hmm. If you understand how they all interact with each other, you could be, someone who could be a supervisor because you understand all the different departments and different positions. So I think by you volunteering to do everything and learn as much as you could, that made you the obvious person to ask, right?
Yeah. And the experience. When I started, Royal Gorge wasn't necessarily keen on bringing on too many people with railroad experience because they didn't want some schmo coming in off the street yelling at the manager, this is how it needs to be done because this is the way I do it on the UP, or this is the way I do it on BNSF. And they brought me on because I had experience working in stressful, crazy railroading conductor situations. And so they knew that I at least, number one, knew what a train was and had a clean record and could go from there. Different experiences, gaining experiences and learning is big key.
That's not your last slide, is it?
I've got one more. I just wanted to give a big old shout out to my crew.
Oh, whoa. Who's that guy on the right? Holy crap.
That's Relaxed Nick right there.
Dude, this looks like a band.
Kind of does.
It does. It's like a band shot. You're like the lead country singer. And Adam's your what is he? Your bass player?
Yeah, and the cowboy hat. Perfect.
Yeah. That is Adam, isn't it?
Yep, it is. It is Adam.
So.
Yeah, we every once in a while, as thanks, ownership likes to put on an employee-only train, and crews can volunteer to work the train either as a server, train crew, and stuff like that. So I took this picture after one of the Santa Express employee appreciation rides. Mm-hmm. So from easiest from right to left, of course, that's me with the coolest hair in the world.
Dude, I think you need to change your name and be Kenny Valdez, the country singer.
Kenny Valdez. I'll be Kenny Jr. I'll be Kenny Jr.
Yeah,
Kenny
Jr.
Because my dad's Ken, yeah.
Your dad's going to get a kick out of that one.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So
yeah,
there's a question for you. Wondering whether or not the Royal Gorge Route goes to shows to do publicity.
I do not, but that is something that I would like to look into. Ownership's vision is mostly to project towards the tourist, just the general tourist industry, not just the rail fan tourist industry. Uh-huh. Families, people coming from Denver to come down and do all sorts of different touristy things. Mm-hmm. But, I stress to them often, and they're learning with the 602, how vibrant of a locomotive that it is and how people come to check it out, that, there are people that enjoy this stuff, not simply because of the food and the views and the history, but because of the train as well.
Oh, sure. And
so we bounced the idea across several times. We were a little late to the game and trying to plan to see if we can get into this most recent Rocky Mountain Train Show. But it is something to consider. It is something on the docket.
I know that people that worked on the Rocky Mountain Train Show, and if you needed to or wanted to, it shouldn't be hard to make that happen.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Thankfully, for all the people I've come to know over the years, like you guys and, Michelle, obviously, and that you guys all knowing that I enjoy this stuff just as much as you guys, getting that help. And if ownership green lights it, absolutely. That'd definitely be something to come into and sit there with the Leadville guys, the Georgetown Loop guys, Durango Chama, the friends of the CNTS. I'd love to be out there with all of them and hanging out with you guys, taking a break, not spend $500 on model train.
Well, you can still spend $500. I mean, it's a train show. You got to do that. But I know you're going to be at the train show anyway, because we saw you there. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Right. So you might as well be pimping the Royal Gorge Route while you're there.
That's it. That's right.
Oh man, that's great.
Oh, that's great. So
yeah, I wanted to learn more though about a couple of things before we go, because we have another 10 or 10 minutes left on the show. I mean, unless you want to stay later, that's cool too. Whatever. It always goes by a lot faster than you expect it to. I meant to mention that before we got started, because it sounded like you were going to go like an hour after we started. Like, oh, he doesn't know. But
I hope it wasn't too long-winded, and I hope it was all right and somewhat enjoyable.
Dude, I could listen to you talk about this stuff longer.
But I'm glad we got.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah,
I've known Nick a couple years, and there's a lot in there I had no clue about. So I really enjoyed it and learned a lot about you and your career.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
We're pretty casual here too. So if we go 5 minutes over, whatever, it's cool.
Cool. Great.
What I was going to ask you about is if there are any, because you just mentioned like Christmas in July.
Mm-hmm.
Well, July is over now, but is there anything coming up on the railroad that people should know about that maybe we can plug on here?
Not right now that we have in the works. The Christmas in July was just a slight, like little, tee Christmas in July, right? There's the train. But another big reason we put the 602 on the train this month is it's exactly 6 months from the Christmas season. And, it's not necessarily fair to let a locomotive sit for 10 months out of the year and not provide any power. So we figured now is a good time to tie into that Christmas in July aspect, to get the locomotive on the train, see how things are doing, and see if any repairs need to be made before we're ready to go for Santa Express. And, I'm here to report that the locomotive is still running great.
Wait, excellent. I love how you said it's not fair to let it sit.
It's not.
Like it has feelings. Like, I just love that. Sorry.
The train might cry at the locomotive's little tears.
You never know. I thought stuffed animals had feelings. Maybe locomotives do too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, we got to yell at them every once in a while if they're not doing what we're asking them to, like
right.
It's not as vibrant as a steam engine, but, and another final ironic aspect is that locomotive has the best air conditioner in the fleet.
Oh, that would be a great reason to run it in July.
Exactly. And we've been hitting triple digits every day for a long time now. And we just sit up there as cool as can be. And our cab riders enjoy the heck out of it. So.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question. I can surmise what the answer will be, and I'm sure someone out there is thinking this, and that is there a chance or plans or any idea of maybe someday even possibly thinking about doing steam out there?
Yeah, it's just about everybody on my crew dreams about it. We sit there and in a restaurant and write it down in a notebook. Like, here's how we're going to do it. Here's how we're going to run it. Here's how we're going to do this. Here's how we're going to do that. But it's not necessarily within the line of sight of ownership. They like I said, their focus and vision is to provide a nice dining, tourist, visual scenery experience, not have it all just be, steam as their primary focus. Because the ownership does come from a long line of, restaurant, culinary, art kind of stuff. And a lot of people, like you guys know, I know, my crew knows, because they volunteer at stuff every once in a while too, the expenses that are involved.
That's what I was thinking, because you really do have to, all that money it would take to do that means maybe you can't paint the cars and keep stuff up. So that's why I said I was kind of surmising what the answer would be, because frankly, it's working and there's no need to fix something that's working. But I gotta tell you, it would sure make the foamers happy.
Maybe we should have a writing campaign.
A writing campaign? What, to get steam out there?
Yeah. Please bring steam to the Royal Gorge.
Well, you could always just, do something on a lease or something. There are guys out. Though I don't know that there are many that would be able to pull that size of a train. It would have to be a pretty big engine, because, those those 40s do a great job though. So, well, anyway, it was just an idea, just a question, and I'm
we
happy.
would love it.
I'm sure that everybody would love it, but I'm just as happy to see what you have because it looks awesome.
Yeah. Oh, so, it's great. It's only going to get better. So
sure.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what the future brings.
Right. So with the last 5 minutes, maybe talk about your YouTube channel because I mean, YouTube is also a cool thing, and I'm sure you'd like to grow that too. And we have a fair number of subscribers here. I would imagine a lot of them already subscribed to yours, but I did.
It originally, so the basis of the YouTube channel, you know, sitting there watching the train go by and trying to learn all I can with the radio scanner and stuff like that. That was always enjoyable. But then going beyond that, like I've got, like everybody else, I got all the DVDs. I got the Pentrek stuff. I got this, I got that, you know, Greg Show, you name it. And I thought it'd be cool to learn what it would be like to get behind a camera and record it all, you know. And I remember at a young age, Skip Waithman, he's a Steam UP on YouTube. He's got some awesome stuff out there, pacing like the 844, the 3985. And I always thought it'd be cool to take part in that and see what it'd be like to record something like that. And so by the time I turned, how old was I? I was just about to turn 15 when I started my YouTube channel. And I just shot a couple of coal trains on the joint line. And then I dove right into doing the 2010 Frontier Days. Remember that picture I shared? All geeked out, Jennifer, with my engineer hat on and everything. That was the very first time I was going to make the proudest YouTube video ever of the 844 for Cheyenne Frontier Days with this 480p camera.
I know what that is.
Yeah.
Now, when was the first time you got to go in the cab and film from in the cab?
2010.
Okay.
When the 3985 pulled the circus train into Denver.
That was a big deal.
We were just dying down for the day and the engine wasn't going anywhere, but it was like, hey, you know, come up inside and take a look around. You know, rules were stringent back then. You know, it's really stringent nowadays. You know, my dad was sitting there. We're sitting there on the gangway of the steam engine and I'm looking at the Challenger. I'm looking at Ed over there. That's when I first knew Ted Schulte, first learned who Ted was. And I'm just sitting there and I didn't realize that I was like vibrating, just standing there. And my dad's standing there with me too. And I look over at my dad. My dad looks over at me and he goes, dial it back. Okay. I was like, sorry.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's great. Someone's asking back to Royal Gorge. How many people work? Do you know how many people work at Royal Gorge?
So it depends on the season. We'll usually in the winter time when we're not operating as much, about 75 to 80 employees.
Oh, wow.
But for our Sound Express, we ramp up to close to 300.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, we're turning 3 to 4 trains a day, you know, and we have staff off days. We have, you know, with days off, that's what I mean. We have people, a whole slew of servers, bartenders, cooks, train attendants who are the ones that, you know, restock the train after every run. We've got a mechanical staff of about 15 people. Train crew, I've got 10 people. So, but the onboard staff side is mostly the heaviest side.
Right on. I didn't realize it was that large of an employer. That's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We're one of the biggest in Canyon City.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, I thought when we started 2 hours ago that it was going to feel like a long show, not because of any specific reason or anything, but just because that always feels like it's going to be, and always it goes by so fast.
Yeah. I didn't realize what the time was until I wrapped up and we were at an hour 40 and I'm like,
I should have told you that that was going to happen. It always happens, you know. People come on and are like, oh, I can only talk for 35 minutes. 2 hours later, you're like, I thought you were only going to talk for 35 minutes, man.
But I want to go back to Nick's channel. So I'm trying to think. Like, I think one of the first, I kind of started knowing who you were through Facebook, found your YouTube eventually. Then I think I might have met you at a train show briefly, and then finally met you actually chasing trains, I believe. I think like Union Pacific.
Yeah, did you and Jennifer come down to the gorge in 2020?
She is
Michelle
Jennifer.
and I came
Are you and
down with
Michelle?
her
See, there you
mom
go,
and
Jen.
Jim. See,
Okay.
someone got me and Michelle
Yeah.
confused. Yay!
Did you and Jennifer come down, Jennifer?
Yeah, but at least we're not going at you.
So yeah, we all came down because like I was originally just gonna go by myself. I told Michelle, like, yeah, I'm going down there. She's like, I want to go. I'm like, well, come on. She's like, can my mom come? I'm like, sure. Can she bring Jim? I'm like, absolutely. So just like the little four of us, and you had like honked or something as your engine came by as we were outside. And
Right.
At us.
Yeah, I had become friends with Michelle, and through Facebook I caught wind that you guys were coming down, so I was like, okay, I'm going to look out for you guys. I was conductor, but I ended up running the train from the eastbound locomotive coming back into town in the 403, and I come blasting across that railroad crossing at 3rd Street, and I saw you guys at the platform, so and that's when I believe I first met you. Yeah.
But getting to kind of just like see your videos before ever knowing you and before ever chasing and seeing you on running around with your dad chasing to actually see like, okay, I've seen the final product, and then to see you filming, and now I know how you get so many stinking blasted run bys. You are crazy good at just like knowing how to haul butt to the next stop for a run by. Like just this last run in Nebraska as they're going westbound, like you had several stops between every service stop they had, and that's not easy to do. That's hard. That's really good at that.
Yeah, that's another fun thing that my dad and I seek a lot of enjoyment in is the planning. We'll sit in the hotel room the night before, and we will look at our phone map and go, okay, we're going to go here, we're going to go here, and we lay out these extravagant plans. If the sun's going to be bad, we're going to go here, and we just love the planning part of it, and we just got a system down to where the train goes by. By that point, I'm, collapsing everything. My dad's getting his camera, and the car's running. We're in the car, and we go. And we just got this rhythm, and we've got this muscle.
I totally do.
Because we've been doing it since 2009. We've been going out and chasing trains. So
love it.
I used to go. This is so funny. So, Nick, you saw my setup. I have a couple of cameras, and I used to go rail fanning with someone, and I swear it was so lame. I set up 3 cameras, right, including my phone. And this person had a DSLR.
Okay.
Usually with not even having a tripod. And we're trying to chase trains. And this person, I'll just say it, this idiot didn't even think to help me with my 3 tripods. Like, come on. It's like, dude, you want to like pick one of these things up and help?
Yeah, help me out, dude.
Like, I don't understand people like that. It never even entered his mind. He's watching me struggle with these 3 cameras trying to put him in the back of the car, and he's just like,
"Oh my god,
it goes quicker if you help."
Yeah, help me out. We'll get those
something to be that self-absorbed to be watching someone do this and not even think, oh, I could help, and it actually would make it easier for me to get to my next location if I just help this guy put the stuff in the car. But it's just,
yeah. Tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is what it was. Yeah.
Too busy dreaming of something else,
Oh my
whatever.
Gosh. Bananas.
Anyway, yeah. Well, I'm looking, and it seems like there aren't really a lot more questions coming in. So maybe we should call this show. And I want to thank you, Nick, for coming. And I want to thank you, Jennifer, for being the excellent guest co-host. And the plan worked out. Yeah. And, you're welcome. Oh, boy, she was so excited to leave. I thought she just walked out,
Nick is the one who started the whole queen pen thing.
I know.
Now people can really know.
What we should do, though, what we have to. Oh, I mean, I kind of mentioned it on the Chasing Trains video that's going to come out when we were at the Steam Shop. That whole thing. I think that program is coming out next month for the general public. Let me check my schedule here real quick.
Looking forward to watching that one.
Yeah, that's coming out next month. It's coming out on August 19th.
And if you're not a Patreon member, people, you should be. You get stuff ahead of time. Just saying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Can I self-indulge or self-promote for a second?
Please do.
What Jennifer, I almost called you Michelle. What Jennifer's talking about is I have on my YouTube channel, every so often, like on the podcast, I'll mention it. I had to start a Patreon page And Patreon is this thing where people can, pledge $2 a month or $5 a month or $10, whatever, to help me get to places to do these things. Like I couldn't have come to Royal Gorge if not for the patrons.
Oh, gotcha.
And so all that content and the chasing trains and everything else comes in large part because of patrons, and a lot of people watching are patrons. As a matter of fact, most of the comments I'm seeing on here are people who are patrons of the channel. So the plea is for people who aren't patrons to go to patreon.com/TSG Multimedia and become a patron. Because if enough people, right? Jennifer is, Michelle is, I was going to say Nick is, but yeah. I don't think he is right now.
Well, I am now.
Well, no, you're an honorary train crew member because you've been a guest on the show now.
Oh shoot, no. Yeah. I'll still jump on Patreon. That's awesome. That's great.
My point is, things don't happen without that. And if enough people, when I first started Patreon, I think I had about 18,000 subscribers. It was like 5 years ago. And I thought, well, out of 18,000, surely I could get at least 1 or 2% to kick in $2 a month. Mm-hmm. No, it's hovered around 100 or 115 in that range almost the whole time. And it does grow steadily. But my thought, though, was if a small percentage of the total were willing to kick in $2, which is really not much. I mean, I could even afford to give someone $2 a month, and my cash flow is so tight that I had to create a Patreon. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But the point was, if I could get enough people to do that it would end up being a lot or enough to do what I need to do. I mean, no one's trying to get rich here, although I wouldn't complain.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would, right?
Yeah. The people who say that money doesn't matter are people that have all the money they already need. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, that's easy for you to say because all your needs are met. Even now, I'd sometimes struggle to make the mortgage payment. So, but anyway, the point was for people to go to patreon.com/TSG Multimedia and sign up for $2 or $5 or $10 or whatever you think it's worth to continue getting all this wonderful content. And speaking of wonderful content, I was going to say, I already thanked you for coming, Nick, but this has been a great show that awesome. I learned a lot and learned a lot more about the Royal Gorge. Awesome. And I can see just from your attitude and your positivity why Royal Gorge is doing so well, because with people like you there, it would be hard for them to not do well.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much for coming on.
Absolutely. And thank you so very much for having me on such a big show. One of your patronage and to be, I'm honored to be here. So thank you so very much for having me. I'm glad everybody had a good time.
The honor's all on this side. So, and you're welcome back anytime. So if you want to come on here and plug something at Royal Gorge, or you're nearing a milestone on your channel and want to get a few more subscribers, or, whatever.
It's a good channel, I swear.
Oh, yeah. No, it is. I mean, I subscribed as soon as I realized what it was. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So I subscribed to it.
Perfect.
Anyway, so thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And, Jennifer, thank you so much. You've been a wonder. Oh, she did it again.
Every time.
As soon as I try to compliment you, you disappear.
We do have a thunderstorm here in Cheyenne. Maybe that's part.
Oh, could be.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It's been really fun.
Yeah,
but I didn't have to be super quiet on this side, listening and watching.
Oh, well, tell John hi, and
I think he's sleeping.
Oh, well, wake him up to tell him hi.
Yeah, please do for the both of us, me and Dad.
And we'll come back. I've actually lined up another guest co-host already for August.
Woohoo!
Shoot, either one of you could come be a guest co-host anytime you want to.
Sweet. All right.
We'll talk about that later off camera.
Sounds good.
In the meantime, I'm going to hit the music, and I'll see you on the other side, all right?
Take it easy, guys. We'll catch you later.
Yep. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time.